I'm gonna leave a lot of the personal details out from why I got to northern Minnesota and Willow River, simply because the names have been changed to protect the guilty at this point. I grew up in just outside of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Large family. When I was a young guy, having some serious abuse situations happening to me, and I'm what you call a runner. Some people are fighters, and I guess at that age, I couldn't beat the people that were beating me, and so I ran. So my parents were too busy to deal with a runner, having come and fetched me from a few far places that I could hitchhike to when I was 7 years old or whatever. Long and short, they had the authorities in the Twin Cities, they filed what they call incorrigible papers on you, and they put you in jail. One of the times that the cops had found me after running away, they put me in this juvenile detention center and waited for somebody. Now, back in the 70s, this is like 72, 73, I think, and they would put people in, put young boys that were having problems with the law. They try to cut that problem short by getting them out of the city and getting them into some type of a group home is what they called them, or foster homes. Get them out of the city before they cause any more problems or end up in prison. Their intentions were good, but they really didn't check into the people very well they were putting kids with. Long and short, I had a gentleman by the name of Don come and fetch me out of the juvenile detention prison they had me in, and brought me up to northern Minnesota, outside of Willow River. It's west of Willow River quite a ways. I think it's Finlandson or somewhere in that neighborhood. I was put up there with 3 other boys that were brothers. They were from the Twin Cities also, had some problems with the law, and so because all 3 of them had problems, they just sent all 3 of them together. So it ended up being the 4 of us there. I'm going from where I was is like somebody taking me from the fat to the fire, or from the frying pan to the fire, or whatever, because this guy was insane. He was amazingly physically abusive to both animals and to people. The best way I can describe him is, if somebody needs a visual, is Clint Eastwood in Heartbreak Ridge. Tall, lean, muscular, angry, cocky, belligerent, flat top haircut, gray hair. That was him. If you can picture that, that's the guy. His name was Don. He had a farm. He had about 80 milking cows, about 200 head of steers. He had sheep. He had pigs. It's a farm. In the early 70s, pretty representative of what was around that area at the time. And so at first I thought this is going to be pretty good. I'm with 3 other guys. They weren't all my ages. Actually, the youngest of those 3 boys was my age, and the oldest was just about 18, and I was 12, I think, 11 or 12 or something in that neighborhood. I have a real hard time with a lot of these memories because I have these big black holes in my memories from really traumatic things that happened in my life. And when I was about 15, I didn't know anything. I didn't remember any of it. And as I got older, things started to just pop in my head, and things that I couldn't really believe was it. Over the course of about 5 years, all of the memories came back, and there's a lot of different kind of monsters out there, and I think I met most of them. The only reason that I'm telling about the abuse is because it happened out in the public, or happened in and outside of this guy's barn. And I'll just briefly tell, again, the story that I just told you about the cows, just to give you an idea what kind of things he did around that farm on a daily basis. This guy had he was some type of a commander or something in the Army, where he trained troops. Like you go to boot camp or whatever, he was one of them guys, a CO or something. So he's one of those loud, big, demanding guys. And I don't know why, but he just seemed to he just hated, I don't know if he just hated animals or he just had no idea how to take care of them or what, but he was so hard on his animals. He had all these milking cows, and he'd run these 80 cows in, and I don't know how many people understand farms or farms back in the 70s, but I had no experience with this kind of a farm, but I learned real quick. Cows come in, they know where to go, they go in their stanchions, you click the stanchions down, holding their neck, they sit in a row on each side of the inside of the barn, and right behind them is the gutter, right under their butts, so when they crap that goes right in there. And they had a vacuum line. There was a vacuum milking system that had these pots. They were stainless steel pots that had the udder, I don't know what you call them, suckers or whatever. And they would take this belt and they would throw it over the back of the cow, and it had these grommets on it like a belt that you wear around your waist, and it had like a metal loop on the bottom of it. You stick it over the cow, and you stick the loop, you hook it onto the grommet on it to adjust to each cow, and you'd wipe out the nipples, and you'd put this vacuum line from there on in front of the cow, and you'd turn it on and suck, it fills up with milk. I think it's about 3 or 4 gallons or something. Anyway, this guy, he was psychotic. It's the only way I can describe it. He's psychotic. I'm standing there, 11-year-old boy, watching what he's doing, and learning what he's doing, and because anything he did, you pay attention to this because you're going to be doing this tomorrow, kind of a thing. And he'd walk down with that thing in his hand, the milking thing in his hand, machine, and he'd say, "Over, Jane," and he'd hit this cow on, let's say he walks up to 2 cows, and he hits the one on the left. He says, "Over, Jane," and he hits the cow in the ass. If that cow don't right now take a step to the left so that he can get between the 2 cows, put that vacuum line on, that cow's in for some serious shit. Excuse me. Well, of course, cows don't know. They don't know nothing. All they know is there's grain in front of them when they lock them in the stanchion. Is there grain here? Then they're fine. But he goes, "Over, Jane." Cow doesn't move over. "Over, Jane." He hits it hard. The cow now is kind of freaking out a little bit. It's taking some extra steps. It doesn't know what's up. He goes, "Get over," and he hits this cow, and the cow doesn't know what to do. He's freaking out. He's locked. His neck is locked in the stanchion. He's sliding around on the crap that's underneath him, and when the cows get upset, they shit. I said it again, sorry. The cows get upset,
no,
they crap. And then underneath their hooves, it's all slippery now because they're freaking out. He gets all upset. He thinks this cow is purposely trying to screw with his day or something. Anyway, so he smacks the cow, kicks the cow, pushes the cow. Now the cow's freaking out, and it's mooing, and he's kneeing the cow in the belly, and the cow's not moving over, or it moves over, or moves back, or it moves against him, and oh God, that was the end of it. If that cow moved the other way and bumped into him, that was it. He throws the milking thing down on the ground, goes back and gets a pitchfork, comes back with a pitchfork, starts stabbing this cow in the ass. I mean, on the side of his ass, on the top side of the cow. Move over, wham, wham, wham. This cow is freaking out. This cow is freaking screaming. And it's falling down, and it's running around. It's trying to get out. It's trying to escape this madness. I'm standing there watching it, and my jaw is hanging open. I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Why is this guy doing this? And the cow doesn't know what to do. It's freaking out. He's pulling the pitchfork back out, and the blood is squirting everywhere. And the cow, of course, he's not going to stand there quietly and wait for you to milk him. Now it's freaking out. It's gone totally berserk. Oh, now the cow's starting to kick at him, trying to get the madness away from him. Oh, God, the cow's kicking me now? Oh, you, sorry, son of a, he goes and he gets a rope, and he ties a rope to that cow's leg, and he goes across the alley or the gutter or whatever to the pole on the other side, and he runs that pole around there and cranks it tight until that cow's leg is sticking straight out behind him. And the cow is freaking out. It's falling down. It's getting up. It's moving. It's about to break the whole barn down. And he's doing all of this because what? Because he wants to milk the cow. I don't think the milk will be any good anymore. Anyway, he finally gets the cow where it's so exhausted it can't hardly even stand. And then he comes in there and puts the thing on and milks the cow. The cow is just, freaking out and panting. And so he does this. Now, that's one cow. Now, he'll go down to the next cow and start saying crap all over again. Or, the other cows, I know cows are stupid, but the other cows, they know something bad's coming. And they don't even know enough to move. They don't know what the hell the party's about. But he does this after 2 or 3 cows. And then this happened regularly. This didn't happen once. This happened all the time. This happened 4 times a week. And after seeing this, I hadn't been there very long, but after seeing this, about the 3rd cow, before that 2nd cow, he told me, he turns around and sees me standing. He says, "Get the hell out of here and go and clean the sheep shed or something. I don't be standing there watching me," kind of a thing. And I'm in the sheep shed, and I hear these cows mooing and screaming and wailing. I come back out. It's like I had enough. I just broke. I just had enough. And I came back out, and I yelled at him. I said, I can't say what I actually said. But I said, you really think you're a big shot? You really think you're a tough guy doing this to cows? Do it to me. Come on, do it to me. You think you're real tough taking a cow tied up, beating on him? Come and get me. Oh, well, do you want trouble? Say that to him. Challenge him. Oh, he chased me all around that barn for 10 minutes. He finally caught me, and he tied me to a pole, and he poked me with a pitchfork, and he whipped me with the milking straps until the grommets made me bleed. And if you don't believe it, you can check my back. It's full of scars. Anyway, that was one day. I was there for 10 months. We would be out in the, and this is the part that's connected to the Bigfoot thing. I know people are going, well, what's this got to do with Bigfoot? What it has to do with is, that's one behavior that happened in the barn. But this kind of behavior with him, the yelling and hitting me and dragging me around and knocking me down and punching me, and this stuff went on every day out in the farm, in the barnyard, in the sheep shed, in the whatever. It could happen while we're putting a fence up right out in the middle of the barnyard. It could happen on a tractor. He's knocked me off a tractor so many times I can't even tell you. And I'm surprised that I wasn't run over as many times. But he'd knock me right off the tractor, just smack me right off it while I was going down the trail if I shifted wrong or something. Anyway, my point is that there was a lot of abuse and things and torture that were happening to me out in this farmyard. Where if anybody, just anybody. I mean, even the neighbor guy, his name was Gus, nice old man. He had the only other farm around. You know, there was a couple of times that him and his wife would come over with like pies or something that they made because they felt so sorry for us kids. And Don would said he'd chase them out of there. Get the hell out of here, you damn crap! These kids don't deserve nothing. Get out of here. They came over because they felt sorry because they could hear us screaming from their house, which was a quarter of a mile away across the field. Anyway, I think that that this, I don't know what Sasquatch I know now. At the time, I called it a monster. But I think that it had been around. I think it heard these cries. I think it had been hearing it all along. That's my only assumption of why it even approached me. Anyway, so I told you that story, so I can tell you this one. I'm a runner. I told you that already. Because I don't think that people should be treated that way, children or adult. And so I would run. I was a pretty good runner. I could run a long way. After about 8 months of this crap going on, and I could talk these stories for 3 hours. I won't. Well, I'll back up. Before this actual, when I saw the creature, I was out. There's a big, huge raspberry patches that are wild raspberries that were alongside of this tractor trail that we would take through the woods that went from one field to another field that he bought. We called it the back 40, and we'd go and we'd bale hay back there. Anyway, a lot of times he would take the tractor full of hay and he'd make us walk. It's about a mile through there. Ain't no big deal for young kids, and we'd always stop. He had a sight, and then we'd stop at the raspberry patch and we'd sit and pick raspberries. One of the times I was coming back alone and I saw these raspberries. Nobody's around. I can sit and pick raspberries and eat them. I was always hungry. And I'm eating these raspberries, and I was there by myself. I just stopped and started picking these raspberries, and I heard something moving on I suppose 20, 30, 25 feet from me. The raspberry patch was humongous. It's huge. And I heard something moving in there. I thought maybe it was a bear. I don't even know if there are bear up there. I assume that there is. But I heard something, and it made this noise, just like a hoof. But so low, though, that it didn't sound like a bear to me, but it sounded huge. Enough that it scared the hell out of me. I was feeling nauseous. I got up, and it took off. Just kind of dropped the berries and took off. And started running down the trail. Now, the right side of the trail is field. It's the front 40 that we bale. And on the left side of the little trail is all woods. And I'm running back to the farm on this trail, and I can hear something, whatever that was now running alongside of me, but far enough into the thick trees that I couldn't see what it was. I just see something was running alongside of me. I kept running, and I stopped for a second thinking, maybe it's the other guys. Maybe it was them all along. Maybe the guys didn't stay there with the wagon and wait for the trailer to come back again or whatever. He'd do several, it's farming. I thought maybe those guys were sneaking behind me and they're just trying to mess with me. So I stopped for a second to see if I could see who it was. When I stopped, the noise stopped. And I started running again, and you could hear the noise again. And it's just like clump, 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 smash, crack. You could hear it just cracking, breaking through the trees or branches or whatever. I stopped again, and it stopped. There's no noise. I had once I yelled, I said, "Come on, you guys." And I realized there's nobody around because they would have said something. Bam, I took off running. I didn't slow down until I got back to the farm. Never said nothing to anybody. other than once I asked one of the other kids there, I said, were you guys out by the berry patch that day on Tuesday or whatever? No, we weren't out there. We were sitting there having a smoke, whatever. So that was that time. Something was there. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a bear, but I'm going to assume that it wasn't, knowing what I know now. Okay, so I told you all that, so I could get to, let's see. I started running away from there. I mean, he'd abuse me, and I would run away. And we lived on this dirt road that there was only one other farm, and that's the one I mentioned earlier. That's Gus's place. Otherwise, there was no other farms, nowhere, either direction. As far as I knew, I mean, you'd get in the car and you'd ride from town for about a half an hour, it seemed like. And then when you turned on to his road, it was a gravel road, straight, nothing, just nothing but woods and swamps on either side. And, it seemed like it was 6 or 8 miles till you get to his farm. So when I would run away, well, going out the driveway to the left would mean, I assume now, to Finlandson, which I didn't have a clue what that meant, because we never went that way driving. We always went the other way. So I would just start running up the road to the right. And I'd run and run and run, and I always looked to see where I could get off of the road, because it wouldn't take long. He always had an eye on me, and it wouldn't take long for him to figure out that I was gone. And when he did, he'd look around and he'd say, where's Tommy? He thought he was up in the garden. I don't know where he is. He'd jump in his old LTD, 67 LTD, that just stunk like a cow pie inside. It just annoyed me how much it stunk. And it's because he always was in it with his cow clothes, Anyway, he'd always come looking for me. He'd always catch me. It happens all the time. It happened, I don't know, 6, 8 times. I would run down the road. I'd hear his car coming. You couldn't see it yet. You could just hear it coming. And I would jump off the road, but there's swamps on both sides of the road. Now I've checked a map recently. Now that area's changed a lot. Maybe it was high that year or something. I don't know. But there's not swamps like that anymore. But this is 45 years ago. So anyway, I would jump off, and I would try to just kind of hide alongside the road. It was really easy to see it because there's nothing but, the road, some swamp, and then nothing but thick woods on the other side of that. And I'd duck down. He'd go by. You'd hear the brakes. He'd jump out and yell and scream and smack me around. And he'd grab a length of rope out of his trunk, and he'd tie my wrist to it, and he'd tie the length of rope to his trailer hitch, and he'd start driving me back. And he'd make me run behind the car. Well, I just ran 2.5 miles or so. I'm exhausted. He hooked me up to it. I could only run so far, and eventually I'd fall, and I'd be yelling, screaming, stop, stop. He would stop. He'd drag me all the way back home. I got scars to show you that, too. Anyway, so this happened many times, 6, 8 times, like I said. And I'm starting to get a little smarter, or I'm thinking I'm smarter. I'm not any smarter. I'm a little kid. I'm scared. I'm trying to get away, and I don't know what else to do. So I run. But this last time that I ran, second to the last time that I ran, I should back up just a little bit. Couple of those times when I was running up that road, I could hear noises from the woods, which I'm not good with yards. I'm better with feet. I would say it's, 500 feet, let's say, 500 feet to the woods. But between the road and the woods is swamp, mucky, thick swamp with reeds and cattails and the whole 9 yards. And I could hear something in those woods every once in a while I just had a bad feeling. Every time I ran up this road, I'd get by the certain area where the second farmer, Gus's property ended, and then it was all thick woods all the way up to the highway, which is, 6, 7 miles. Anyway, that bunch of woods on the right side as I'm going north, I always just had a bad feeling, weird noises coming out of it. Now I realize that they were whoops and there were grunts, there were howls, and different things that I would hear different times when I was running up that road. I just thought it was, whatever, animals make those noises, so I just would keep running. But anyway, one time I'm running up the road, and I see the swamp, and I see the woods on the other side of the swamp, and I hear Don's car coming. I go, damn it, he caught me already. And I jump down into the weed, off the side of the road, into the ditch, like I've done several times before. And he always catches me, always sees me in the ditch. For some reason that day, he didn't see me. Maybe he was looking out the other side or something. But he went by. I started running in through the swamp, hoping I could get to the woods. I figured if I get to the woods, he can't see me. I could take the woods all the way up to the main highway. I had a friend that lived on the corner of his street in the main highway, which I figured was 6 miles, 8 miles, something like that. I figured I could get to my friend's house. He had a real nice mom, and she was a single mother, trying to take good care of her kids. And there was a few times that I had run away that I got almost to their house, and I always thought if I could get to their house, if I could just get to their house, I could get some help. Anyway, I jump into these. I hear his car coming. I jump in the ditch. He goes by. I continue going through the swamp, and I realized pretty quick that it's really mucky underneath of the water. I thought it was. I don't know. I just didn't realize what I was getting into. I start going into the swamp, and the further and further I get, the worse it is. The more thick the muck is underneath of the water, and it's like I'm stepping in, and it's pushing. The muck's going all the way up, like past my knees. And I'm wearing these, what they call back then were called duck boots. They're green boots with a yellow line around the bottom of them. Probably people think they're popular now, but back then we called them duck boots, and we hated them. But they were like knee-high for working on farms. I start struggling. I'm having a hell of a time getting each foot out of the muck and into the next step, but I know I got to get across these woods. I'm about, I would say, 3/4 of the way across the swampy area, and I'm into where the thick cattails are, and I'm really panicking now because I don't think I'm going to make it. I mean, now the water is up to my chest, the muck is up to my knees, and I'm getting so tired that I can't get my feet. Each step, I can't get my feet out of this muck. It's like it's sucking them in. And I keep going. I'm struggling, and now I'm starting to freak out because the water's getting up to my neck. And I don't know how to explain this, but if you push down with one foot, just pull the other foot out of the muck. The first foot is going in deeper. You end up digging yourself a hole, basically, is what you're doing. And of course, I'm just panicking, and I'm getting swamp water in my mouth. And I'm trying to get through, and I start crying. I start screaming and crying because I think I'm going to drown now because I'm getting to where if I stop, it sinks. And if I keep struggling, I kind of get moving a little more, but at least I can keep my chin above the water. And then I find a little clump of cattails or something. I'd be grabbing them and pulling them toward me, pull my feet out of the muck underneath. Anyway, I'm right into all that. I'm panicking. I'm freaking out. I don't think I can do this any longer. I don't think I'm going to be able to stay afloat. I honestly think I'm going to drown right where I am. And all of a sudden from the woods, which are now, I would say, 50 feet, 30 yards, I don't know, not too much farther. I would say there was, the swamp went right up to the edge of the woods. So I would say there was probably, 75 feet, whatever that is in yards, 30 yards, whatever. And I hear this crash, bash, coming through the woods. I'm not sure what I'm thinking. I don't know what I'm hearing, but I'm thinking this is bad because I can't even run. And it just crash. Right away, this happened really fast. Just bang, crash. And out of the woods comes this freaking monster. It's huge. It was huge. It was as wide as the barn door. I mean, not kidding. It was huge. It come out, splash, and it jumps. It walks through that swamp like it was 3 inches thick. It just walked right out to me. And I'm watching as it gets close to me, and I see it coming, and it's huge. It was like dark brown with lighter brown hair, not fur, but hair, and it was long and straggly, like a ghillie suit or something. It was long. It was dirty, and the hair on the top, the top hair was lighter, like a lighter brown, like it had been sun bleached or something, but all the hair underneath was real dark. And it comes out, and it's got breasts. It's a female. It's the first thing I noticed. The thing had breasts, but it was a monster. As far as I'm concerned, it's a monster. And I see it, and it's stomping out towards me, and it had this look on its face like it was like I'm done, like it was going to eat me or whatever. It was not good. Whatever it was and what was coming at me, I panicked, and I turned. Now I'm trying to go back to the road. And I'm stuck. I can't move. I stopped long enough to see what the hell's coming at me, long enough for me to sink in this muck, and I can't get out of it. And now the water's right up to my chin, and I'm choking, and I'm screaming and yelling, and I'm not saying anything, just screaming. And I turned, and I struggled so hard I pulled the boots off. I pulled hard on that the boot came off, and I got another step, and I pulled the boot up, and I got another step. Now I got nothing to help me. It's like I sunk even faster. Without the boots on, I went right into it. By that time, I'm seeing this shadow coming up behind me, and the noise, and comes up behind me, and I just put my hands over my head and cowered down, expecting to be, killed. And this thing just stops, right next to me, and I could smell it. God, it was the worst smell. It's still the worst. My dad owned a garbage company, to tell you. I know what bad smells are. The worst. That was the worst smell I ever smelled in my whole life. Since then, even since then, to me, how to describe that? Dead skunks waiting in a pile of dog crap after they vomited on it. I don't know. It's just a really bad smell. And it's standing right behind me. I didn't even turn to look anymore. I got my hands over my head, and I'm soaking wet. I'm sinking, and I'm starting to spit and cough out the swamp water, the little green things that are in the swamp. And the thing just reaches out and grabs the back of my jacket right behind my neck, and reaches and pulls me right up out of right up out of the water. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. This is how you can describe it. This thing grabbed me and it's holding me out in front of it. And only thing I can think of is when I was a kid, we used to have puppies and stuff, and or rabbits or something. They always say, grab a rabbit by the back of the neck there. They're just fine with that. They don't have a problem with that. That's what I felt like. I felt like I was the size of a rabbit to a human. I mean, this thing was huge. It just grabbed me and pulled me right up out of the water and starts walking towards the road that I just came from. I'm screaming. I'm swinging my arms, and I'm hitting the arm that's trying to hold me, or that is holding me. I'm hitting this arm, and it's wet, and it's stinky, and it's strong, and I'm just going to call it she. Stomp, 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 stomp. Goes right back through the swamp the same way I came, and gets to the edge of the road, and just drops me down, soaking wet, into the mud puddle that's kind of like the edge of the ditches are all water too, and just drops me down in the ditch. And just stands there and stares at me. And I'm screaming, and I'm crying, and I'm cowering, and what do you do when you see a monster? I saw monsters in the movies. I've seen a Wolfman. I've seen Frankenstein. I don't know what this is, and I didn't think monsters were real. I thought they were only in the movies. So I'm really kind of in some kind of a shock or something, because I'm just freaking out. I'm screaming. It's basically what I'm doing. I'm screaming. I'm screaming. And it doesn't do anything. It's just standing there. It just threw me down and standing there looking at me. And I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at the ground. I'm not really looking at anything. I had my hands over my head, and I've got my face down. I'm waiting for it to just freaking pounce on me or something. It doesn't. Nothing's happening. It's just standing there. I can just hear it going. It took like these breaths that were like 10 times my breath. It seemed like it never stopped exhaling. And it was just standing there. And all of a sudden, everything just got really quiet. And it's like I'm going, okay, you're not going to kill me or what? And so I stopped screaming. I turned around, and I looked at it. And it's a hard part to talk about. I don't know. It's a monster. It's brown hair, gray skin. The first thing I thought of was, for some reason, somewhere I saw a picture of, or a movie of, the circus freak, the lady with the beard, the bearded lady. That's the first thing I thought of. Was it's a woman. She's got breasts, but it's not a woman. It's a monster. It's got long, long hair coming right from below its eyes all the way down off of its face. Nose didn't have hair on it. The hair, like, had a receding hairline. Its hair didn't come like all its eyebrows, which were huge, but the forehead was larger than most and went back from there. But its hair was dirty, and it had a piece of branches, keep in mud and crap in it. It was dirty. And it's like his mouth is in the wrong place. Her mouth is lower, like from your nose to your chin. There's a lot of more distance there, and it was just huge. It didn't growl. It didn't speak. It did nothing. It just looked at me, and it looked like it's kind of hard to explain, but it looked at me like with sympathy. I don't know if that makes any sense coming from a monster. I mean, you don't look at a dog and see sympathy or something. Yeah. But that thing looked at me with these angry eyes, and at the same time, it was kind of cocked its head a little bit to the side and looked at me, and I don't know, it just looked at me, and I thought, it's like I saw it like, okay, you're not going to kill me then. And then about that time, this is all went by in like seconds, but about that time, heard the gravel of Don's car coming from a mile away or something. You could just hear it. When you're out in the country on a gravel road and you're standing there and it's nice and quiet, you can hear a car coming from a mile and a half away. You can hear the car coming. He had turned around and started coming back. This thing heard it about the same time. Oh, and I think she heard it before I did because she turned her head, looked up the road, and turned back again, looked at me, turned, and just bolted. Didn't run, just walked fast. Right back through exactly where I just came from, same trail that we took, same one that I took out. Walked right down, went into the woods, gone. You could hear crash, more crash. I was laying there in a ditch, and about 20, 30 seconds later, Don rolls up, slams on the brakes, takes one look at me, and starts cussing. I can't use those words on your show. I'll abbreviate them. He goes, what the heck are you doing? You sorry son. What the hell? Why are you all wet? What did you stink? Where the hell are your shoes? Get the hell up here. And now I'm crying again. And he said, I wouldn't even put you in my car. You're such a goddamn mess. He grabs his keys this time. I don't know, maybe he didn't have his rope. I kind of looking at him, he grabbed his keys. So I'm standing there all wet going, oh, no drag today? He grabs the keys and he opens his trunk. He goes, get your ass in there. And he throws me in the trunk and shuts the door and drives us back to the farm. As we get back to the farm, and it's I don't know what it is, 5, 6 o'clock. So sun's starting to go down or whatever at that time. But anyway, he take all that crap up and throw it down there and take all my clothes off. I'm down to nothing. You try to leave your underwear on, or he says take all your clothes off and you leave your underwear on, you might as well have a jacket on. Anyway, take all your clothes off. Took all my clothes. They stunk. You could really smell. It's like I was rolling around in skunks or something. It was bad. He had me take all my stuff off, and they had this old bathtub, an old cast iron bathtub that they had. They didn't have an indoor. They don't have indoor plumbing. This is a farm, right? You take crap in an outhouse. They made us do all that, but they had indoor plumbing. They had a shower and a toilet in the basement that they had put in recently, but we couldn't use it. We had to use the outhouse. We had to bring buckets of water, 5-gallon buckets of water out from the hand crank well and pour it into this cast iron bathtub, and that's where we took our bath. And he made me do that, of course. Threw me a bar soap, the stuff cleaned up, and they made me. I couldn't get that smell out of the jacket. I just could not get it out, no matter what I did. Finally made me throw it away. He was really pissed about that too. Well, he thought that was the worst thing he could ever done, is throw a jacket away, a perfectly good jacket, just because it smelled. That was the worst thing he could ever do. Anyway, long short of it is that that's what happened there.